about it. The recording is in progress.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't mean anything. That's just it's recording. That's all.
Well, it does.
Everyone's staring
It
at me.
does.
Means the recording's in progress.
That's right.
Are we that nihilistic? It just doesn't matter if we record or not.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Luke, are you tackling the story?
Oh, I was thinking that I should, and then I didn't.
Oh yeah. I guess we could add it later, or you could just try it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is one that I can do off the dome.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we'll just
maybe I'll write one later and shoot you an MP3.
Okay, let's do that, and then we'll just when it's time, just everyone shut up for 5 seconds, and then I can spot where to put it easily and not spend 15 minutes looking for it.
Okay.
In at number 1, it's Unions.
Yep, we're still strike recording, but the strike is over. But we have things to do. We have a couple movies to get out of the funker first.
Today we're talking about police and how they are bad again. Except this time the movie is really interested in how bad the police are.
Well, let's get the groundwork done. It's Films and Filth, the Citizen Kane of podcasting. Matt just did the first introduction.
Luke did the introduction before the introduction.
Mark is introducing himself right now. Hi, I'm Mark.
Good job, Mark.
And
Thanks.
hi, I'm Anna. Back at it again, I guess.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Heading to South Korea this time.
Fun fact, I technically met Anna in Korea.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We did. We technically met in South Korea. So, yeah.
In the Haejeon province. You
Well,
didn't go to Seoul, though. You were in a different city.
Seoul.
You were in a different city.
No, I just went to Seoul, but Anna did Busan and then Seoul.
Oh, okay.
Yes, when I first arrived, I went directly to Busan, and which actually I got to go to the Busan Museum of Movies, which is like a big, like Busan is I guess cinematic capital of South Korea. So that was interesting. I actually got a very fun poster of all Bong Joon-ho's movies. So they're all like mashed together in an illustration. So that was cool. And then I went up north to Seoul, which is where I met Luke for the first time with my sister.
Awesome.
Radio.
Yeah.
And why are we talking so much Korea today? It's because the movie is Memories of Murder.
Yes.
2003's Memories of Murder.
Which I didn't know about the film. I guess I should have known about the film. I certainly know the director, but I haven't seen Parasite yet either because it's on our list. So I'm going to wait till we get to Parasite.
Yep. Yeah, speaking of the list, listeners, we will actually be back on the list starting from December. But we still had a couple more films that we'd earmarked when we thought the strike was going on. So we're going to get those out of the way first.
I mean, come on, he's on the list a few times anyway.
Yeah.
Looking at this makes perfect sense. This is like when we did Parasite, maybe this would have been like the bonus if we felt really energetic or something. So,
well, no, when we do Parasite, the bonus is going to be the other one of his films that I actually have seen, which is, of course, the kaiju movie he did.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah, the host.
The host. Yeah.
Which has Snowpiercer?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I have seen Snowpiercer.
Okay.
I just forget that one's him because it's all
English.
That is a very Bong Joon-ho movie though. It's but the funny thing is when Parasite was coming out, I knew that he had a movie called Parasite coming out, so I thought, oh, it's a sequel to the host. No. It's just a weird translation thing that just
maybe you could no
like
prize it Marvel Comics style. You no prize, then you find a way to tie them together.
I mean, if you think about it, there's also a host or several hosts in Parasite. So
that was true.
So yeah, I mean, it could be like a sequel, but yeah.
If you really
these days, everything's a shared universe, so I'm sure there is like the Bong Joon-ho shared universe.
If we just have someone use AI to edit Parasite, and at the end, one of the rich people takes their skin off, and it's the monster from the host, that would be great. Someone get on that right now.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Dude, they just had a strike about not using AI to edit their movies. So.
Don't throw a wrench
Damn
in the
it.
plan. So
Oh.
my history with this movie is last week Luke told me we're doing a movie called Memories of Murder, and then I watched it.
Well,
that's my history with the
what's
movie.
your history with Bong Joon-ho in general?
I you, I don't know Korean cinema nearly as well as I could. I mean, you were like screaming at me yesterday because I've only seen the money shot in Old Boy.
No, this
um,
is the funny thing I realized after we had that conversation. You moved to Japan in the early 2000s and then kind of moved back in 2009, and a lot of the big Korean stuff that, well, at least I found out about a lot of it during that period where you were just in Japan. So that's why I didn't make you watch Old Boy.
yeah, well, you made me watch
Like,
you showed me that one, the big fight scene thing, right? So
huh. Okay.
you were just like, I guess we didn't have time for the movie, so like put this on. So otherwise my history is just in 2014 there was like an insane blizzard in Japan. So even Kanto, I was living in Maebashi, we got a meter of snow and the city shut down for 2 days. The mall was closed. I ransacked the 7-Eleven. I mean, I paid money for what I ransacked, but yeah, it was like very apocalyptic. And then just as it was starting to melt, the mall opened, I saw Snowpiercer. So that was
Okay.
great.
Wow,
That's a
very
perfect
ad
way to
hoc.
see Snowpiercer.
It is.
Yeah, I basically have no history of Korean cinema other than, like I said, I watched The Host because I watched monster films. And Matt made me watch Snowpiercer when we were doing our sci-fi podcast. And that's it.
Yeah, I was saying that I couldn't remember if we had done a Snowpiercer episode or not, but I guess we did. And
Yeah.
actually you
And
can see it.
especially since moving to Japan, like watching Korean films, it's like my only option is piracy.
Yeah.
Because finding them with
Yeah.
English subtitles ain't happening.
Yeah, my Old Boy came out here and I heard crazy things about it, and then I watched it and it was crazier than I thought it was. Spoilers for much later in this podcast is my favorite movie, currently my favorite movie of the 21st century. I saw Mother when that sort of came out, and that was Bong Joon-ho's movie after The Host, and then grabbed The Host around that time, and then everybody became kind of obsessed with it, and saw a few other South Korean movies along the way, even though probably should have seen more, but I'm just not good at keeping up with anything. So
I
anyway.
should know this story, but I don't. But Anna, how did you get into Korea?
You guys did a bad time.
It's
I asked her right as she took a drink.
no, I have to. It's a long story that can be surmised in just that I lied. I lied in a resume that I knew Korean when I only knew the alphabet. And so whatever happened, I started just learning Korean because I got a really good job offer. And then by learning Korean, I think I saw Old Boy probably like a year prior, and I was very mesmerized by the language, and I was like, okay, this must be easy, right? Because it's Korean. Of course it wasn't. So I just knew Hangul, like the alphabet, and then I just started watching mostly Korean movies. And although I haven't watched the whole Vengeance trilogy by Park Chang-wook, by the director of Old Boy, I have watched, I think, every single feature that Bong Joon-ho has done, like from Barking Dog Never Bites, which I think it's his first, Flanders Dog, I think it's in Korean, until Parasite. And then I think he's planning on releasing a new one. I think it's called Mickey 6 with Robert Pattinson, something like that. And yeah, so anyway, that's I learned Korean. I speak a little bit, not very much, and I just love Bong Joon-ho, specifically films, because I'm really not much into Korean dramas, although the Hallyu and the Korean whatever is known for that. But there's a lot of these new South Korean wave kind of movies, particularly Bong Joon-ho and Park Chang-wook. But there's also like Kim Ki-duk, which I think he has made. I think he made the Handmaid, or some 60s Korean movie, which was like the Citizen Kane, let's say, of the era. You know, like a post Korean War type of film industry that was just starting to build up from the ground. So that's so yeah, that's the short version of my kind of obsession with Korean films.
See, I'm coming at it
Yeah.
from the wrong way because you know, my in-laws they like to watch the Korean dramas. So, you know, I'll come downstairs and they're just ridiculously schmaltzy and melodramatic
But
it's I can't understand any of the Korean, so I can read like a few of the Japanese subtitles. And my wife got pissed last weekend because there was a few very melodramatic scenes, and I was like, "What if we just like dubbed in some flatulence as they get very emotional? That would be fun."
this is the thing
She didn't
about
like that joke.
Korean dramas. I haven't, because I'm terrible at watching TV shows. I haven't really watched any of them, but some of them have these plots that are just completely insane. Like there's one, trying to look up the plot of this. There's one specifically I've heard of where it's like an immortal goblin is in love
Oh,
with a high school student. Okay, you know what
yeah,
I'm talking about?
Tokebi.
Okay,
Yeah, Tokebi.
right,
Yes.
right. But reading about this is just absolutely bonkers. I have to assume I would love it if I ever get around to watching it.
Well, I asked my wife, "What's the charm? Why do people in Japan like these so much?" She's like, "Well, things keep happening. They're not slow."
Yeah. Wow, you're speaking directly to me.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Yeah,
speaking to you.
please.
Yeah, recently Mercy's been like showing me summaries of Mexican telenovelas, and it seems
Oh.
like Korean dramas are cut from the same cloth. Just what's the most insane plot twist we can have this week? It will happen.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
Speaking of plot twist, Luke, can you give us that rundown of memories of murder?
Well, the first half is Hot Fuzz, but in Korea, and then the second half is Zodiac, but in Korea.
Nice.
Okay, that will do if I forget to give you a real one.
That's basically the plot. It's just the Zodiac version of
Yeah.
in South Korea. Yeah.
I mean, Mark, I think you might have colored my viewing of this because sitting directly next to me is Zodiac. So I recently watched Zodiac again.
I knew you had, so I told you, yeah. So I planted it in your brain intentionally because that's like a good perspective.
It is,
but I deliberately have never watched Zodiac because I won a copy of it from a magazine and they never sent it to me.
So
I refused to watch that film until Empire sent me.
This one's longer. It's the director's cut.
Oh God. The thing about Zodiac is that the movie decides who the Zodiac is, and that has been totally debunked. And also the scene at the end
half-heartedly decides.
You could probably just stop watching before the end of the movie, because the scene at the end is kind of stupid, because Jake Gyllenhaal walks into a hardware store and then the guy says, "Can I help you?" And he says, No, you can't. And then the guy looks like a murderer, and that's the end.
So I guess maybe I'll get that out of my system and just give my rundown, because I was seeing it, they're watching it the whole time, like kind of comparing it to Zodiac. As far as artistry, yeah, they're both basically on an even keel. But I'm an American. You're showing me 70s San Francisco and Zodiac. You're showing me actors I'm very familiar with. Whereas if I was South Korean, I'd be down with the 1986 Korea. I'd be down with the Korean actors more. So that predisposes me a little bit to Zodiac. And the other thing about Zodiac that I love, which is why I really like that movie, is because you can basically put the scenes in random order and still watch it. Each scene of Zodiac is like this weird, like hermetically sealed thing. And since they never really solved the murder, it doesn't even matter the order you're watching it. I kind of wish DVD players did have like a shuffle, and then I could watch Zodiac on shuffle. So
this is more because I didn't even realize this was kind of based on a real murder until the end. So this is kind of more fictionalized than Zodiac.
Yes.
And it means that it works as a drama about the characters rather than about the mystery.
Zodiac is kind of, I feel like it is about the characters in the end, because like I said, the mystery, you can randomize it. It doesn't matter. It's about people getting obsessed, which there is some of that in Memories of a Murder, but they also kind of like want to slag it off a little bit and go eat a cheeseburger, which I can appreciate that, of course. But
but I'm just going off. You just told me you can randomize the order of Zodiac. It doesn't sound like there's much of a character arc.
But in each scene, like how there's a lot of character in each thing, but it's just like so disconnected. as far as like following a plot thread, which yeah, so it's like a watch of a Swiss watch of a movie basically, where just all the pieces are put together in a really cool way. But yeah, this one has a little more narrative flow. So if that's your thing, then Memories of Murder does have a leg up on Zodiac.
I mean, I know that Fincher gets accused of being, I don't know what the word for it is, a little bit calculating, which makes total sense because that is sort of like this perfect Swiss watch where this is, to me, this film is both funnier and sadder than Zodiac. I mean, partly because you see funny things and sad things, but also it's just the tragedy of just the situation of all of it. And God, cops are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess leave it to Bong Joon-ho to stick some dark humor and without taking any seriousness of the issue of the murders that did happen. But it is kind of funny still. I mean,
Well,
yeah, I think
yeah.
is that an Asian cinema thing generally? Because in Japanese stuff as well, there's often a lot of tonal shift, which I feel like Western audiences complain about. Whereas to me, I love that because that's life.
Yeah, me
It
too.
can be hilarious, and then 2 minutes later, it's the most tragic thing. And yeah, I think that works really well.
well, retrospectively, I will read you the funniest note I took while watching this. I hope we're all up to date on our tetanus shots.
I am. It's true. I am.
It was
I
funny.
do not.
I was walking.
How often are you meant to get them? Because I got them when I was in the police, but I haven't had one since.
Oh, you need this is
10
funny. I was
years?
talking. Yes, I was talking to Maddie one day, and he was talking about that. I'm like, I need a good tetanus shot. I haven't gotten one for 10 years. So if you're going to trust Maddie on tetanus, that would be the answer.
I
I
got one
kind
at
of do
Walmart.
trust Matty on being hypochondriac about medical issues. So.
So
I
you need a
didn't know
tetanus
you
shot
had
then.
to get them. I didn't know you had to get them like regularly or at least for 10 years. I think I got a tetanus shot when I was 5, and that's about it. So yeah, hopefully I don't get hit with a rusty nail or something. Hopefully.
Oh,
But
just
yeah.
get it taken care of right away if that
I
happens.
think I got
Yeah.
one 2 years ago, so I guess I'm good for a while.
Can I get tetanus from waking up with the stigmata?
Yes.
I'm sure.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
Were the 9-inch nails rusty? I mean, some.
Those are nice, clean, bought from Ace Hardware nails, man. Nothing but the best for Trent.
They clean them with holy water or something. I don't know how that stuff.
I think
Satan
the water
water.
became holy when it cleaned them.
Of course.
Okay, so where do you want to take? I guess let's focus directly on this movie. We'll maybe stop thinking about Zodiac so much and
Yeah.
focus on
Okay.
this one.
So the opening of the film says this is a story of a film, a murder inspection that happened during a military dictatorship. Did
Yeah.
anyone take that opportunity to research South Korean politics, or were you familiar with South Korean politics before this? Because I was
a
not,
little
and I learned
familiar,
a
but
lot.
You sound like the guy
I'm
that knows
very
stuff at the moment.
vaguely familiar because I live close to it, but you're probably now more familiar than me.
Yeah, well, there's so much. There is so much. It's crazy. It's just presidents killing candidates, things like this. But this took place during the Fifth Republic of Korea. So it's the fifth government since the Korean War, which is wild. There are people who apparently, if you're over 50 in Korea, you probably speak Japanese or something like that. Maybe not over 50, maybe older than that.
Yeah, it might
I've
be.
read
Yeah, maybe
something
when
that said
this
that.
film came out, it would have been over 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
I mean, there is
So,
just like continuing weird resentment between the two nations, which sometimes we're buddies again. Then 3 weeks later, nah, we're kind of pissed at each other again.
It feels like the older generations hate each other, but the young generations, like every kid in Japan loves Korea.
Well,
and like when we were in Korea, there was Pokemon and stuff everywhere. So I think that's just going to die out when the old people die out.
But the old,
it's weird how cultural cash can do that, because just based on Korean food and movies and music, I love them very much. Not that I didn't love them before, but I was like, I feel an attachment that I wouldn't otherwise. I guess Japan is the same thing, but
well, Korea's a little different because I mean, basically, a lot of these governments were quite repressive up until the late '90s, is it? And that's kind of where I guess the Korean pop culture explosion happens, because everyone suddenly, it's like uncorking a bottle.
Well,
Yes.
interestingly, the Sixth Republic was dissolved in 1987, which is a year after this movie. So
Six.
you
So
can
they had a
kind of
fifth and six that
you
fast.
can kind of see the seams. It's sort of like a do the right thing situation where you could feel the kind of the tension bubbling up in the background. I mean, if you see it through that lens.
But we
Yeah,
get a
I
bunch
think
of
you
good
get
movies.
I think you get a sense of it, because there's a part where, I mean, spoilers, I guess, of the movie, when it's raining and the sound, a specific sound is playing on the radio, and they are certain, like the police officers, they're certain that a murder is going to happen. And when the chief, I guess, tries to call for reinforcement, it cannot be done because people are trying to suppress manifestation in Suwon, I guess. And you get the sense of it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in 1985, there was a massacre in Gwangju, I guess, like in the southwest part of Korea. So that might also play a part of it all. Like, you can still feel a kind of bubbling sense of unrest. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we even literally see a couple of riots in the film. And we don't. It seems like no one likes the cops.
Yeah,
throughout the movie,
you see the cops doing heinous things like hanging a guy upside down and kicking him a bunch of times, and you feel in the movie like they can just do whatever they want, and then you pretty quickly see them getting in trouble, screamed at, and then they're on the news. So it's interesting that. And another interesting thing, I don't think they go into this in the film, but as far as the person that this film is based on, part of why he confessed to they caught the guy in 2019, and part of why he confessed to the murders is because the statute of limitation for murder in South Korea at the time was, I believe, 10 years, and then it went up to 15, and then it was done away with, thankfully, but it didn't apply to past murders.
But if it makes you feel better, he was already doing life in prison for what, raping his sister-in-law. So
yeah, he had so many
murdered.
crimes that it didn't really matter if he confessed to a couple more.
Yeah,
which is, I mean, I like the fact that it doesn't correspond to the movie, because then the movie can just kind of be its own thing.
Yeah, because he was caught like a couple of years after the movie, right?
Yeah, he couldn't have been the guy in the epilogue who went and said he wanted to see the things that he'd done, which doesn't matter because that's a great scene and who cares.
Yeah, this movie's 2003, so there's quite a bit of time before they actually solved the case or whatnot.
But yeah, so you were talking about, it seems at first like they can do whatever they want. It's interesting, most of the times the chief's telling them off, it's not for doing heinous things, it's just for being too obvious about it.
Yeah, that's why they had to cover, the guy who got tetanus had to cover his boot so he wouldn't leave marks on the guys. He would just kick, what's that called when you just jump and kick someone, like
drop kick?
A drop kick. Yeah,
incredible.
Just why? Just
evil. Yeah, it's evil, but it's incredible.
It is. It's very funny.
I love when the Soul Detective first shows up and he just gets drop kicked because they think he's chasing that woman. That was a great drop kick.
Yeah.
It is like the Keystone Cops, just with more, maggots and gore.
Yeah, this is close to a screwball comedy at times, which I really appreciate. The whole thing where there's an entire subplot of the cop just going to the sauna, staring at guys' dicks for like 15 minutes. Amazing. So funny.
Well, that's what I was saying. The first half is mostly felt like a comedy, just about how crap they were at trying to catch this guy. And then eventually, when it's sort of like when the characters realize how bad they are at this, it stops being funny.
Yeah.
It feels earned, which I think American films are sometimes very bad at earning their tonal shift. Even Marvel films, which probably people would say do that pretty well, don't do it anywhere near as good as this.
Well, they'll often undermine themselves as well. Whereas what I think is good here, once the tonal shift happens, it stays pretty serious for the remainder of the film.
Mm.
There's not really any like return to levity or like breaking of that tension.
Have any or all of you seen Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance?
I've
Yet.
never even heard of that.
Okay.
I don't think I have.
That's Park Chan-wook's movie he did before Old Boy, and it's a very serious and beautiful film. And it's really interesting when you kind of put that up against Old Boy and Lady Vengeance, which are both kind of wacky. It's almost like that style is that style is a great thing comparison to the second half of this film. So it's sort of like, I don't know, it's great how this film sort of has two different things. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
You like the
It came out around this time.
Okay.
the dual nature of the film there, that makes it sound
Yes,
smart,
the
right?
duality of
The
man.
duality of celluloid, because I guess they're still
Yes.
shooting on film at this point.
Mhm. That said, I mean, Joint Security Area came out a few years before this, and it was a little more serious and a little rough around the edges, but also it's pretty much just takes place in the demilitarized zone, which I didn't look up a bunch of politics because I feel like as Americans we're taught North Korea bad, demilitarized zone dangerous, South Korea good, and that's about all we know about anything.
Well, the only
Well-
shot you ever see is that gate, right? The line. So
It's yeah. And I mean, video games do that a lot. Look, it's a demilitarized zone. Here, go shoot a bunch of North Koreans.
pixels.
Yeah. Was it Mercenaries? You ever play that?
No, I heard of it though. There was a tour of the demilitarized zone we could have gone on, but we weren't in Korea long enough. But I was interested.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
It would be, I mean, really dangerous, but really interesting too. I mean, probably us not being American, like Luke and I, that would be probably less dangerous than if an American were to go there. But
Yeah, I would be afraid I'd mess everything up because it's the whole thing. You know what? The American who went on the tour of North Korea and stole the sign, and then they like returned his body with his teeth in backwards or something. I wouldn't do that, but I would still be afraid that I'd say the wrong thing and be like, "Whoops."
I am
camp.
highly curious putting on YouTube videos of North Korean tours. So that's a rabbit hole I fall into every 6 months or so. Usually there's a couple new ones by then. Except for
I haven't watched those, but recently there was a lady who defected, and there was a bunch of videos of like her reacting to memes and stuff.
Whoa, I want to.
And she was talking about how when you get a haircut in North Korea, there's like 20 acceptable haircuts, and you just go in and say the number.
Whoa. I bet some people really like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like socially awkward, at least you don't have to think about your haircut. You just pick from the character creator menu. But yeah,
it's like the combo meal. I was number 6.
Except that all 20 of the haircuts are variations on the Kim Jong.
Yeah.
For women
for
too.
dudes, you're probably right. But yeah, women have slightly more variation, I think.
Are any of you obsessed with the unfinished North Korean hotel? It's like one of the largest buildings ever made that isn't finished.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I've watched so many of these videos of.
The thing is, there was some misinformation, obviously, that you could book a room at that hotel, and
No,
I was going down these rabbit holes to be like, can you? No, you can't.
No, the tours Pyongyang has like kind of a an island in the river, which is like foreigner land, where they build a hotel, and you don't leave the hotel until they take you somewhere, which has been curated for you to see.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
exactly.
we're going down this North Korea rabbit hole. Did they mention the North once in this film?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
But the relationship would have been quite different in 1986 as well. I mean, obviously there's contention still, but North Korea, until the famine, I think was considered to be economically successful, especially in the 60s. I think they were doing better in the South in the 60s.
Well, part of why I started going down the whole rabbit hole of politics was because the opening saying this this is a murder investigation that took place during a military dictatorship, my thought was, oh, this is North Korea, because it's not like they wouldn't go there. But I was like, oh, okay.
Nope, it's a different
Interesting.
military that's a military dictatorship, not a juche form of government.
Yeah.
I think I missed this sign at the beginning because it took me about an hour into the film to even realize it wasn't set in 2003.
Okay.
Okay, fair.
That
You know,
might have
North
been
Korea-
where
It's the countryside in Korea. I don't know. Maybe they were using typewriters in 2003.
Yeah, no, hey, it stands the test of time, like
Yeah.
is it 2003? Is it 86? Is it 71? I mean, who knows? So
Yeah.
Well, this is also sort of how Japan is, right? Wouldn't you guys say that Japan now still has sort of shades of 80s?
Yeah, people always bring up that everyone talks about Japan being high tech, but it was high tech in the 80s and then just hasn't moved.
Yeah. I mean, but also Japan kind of doesn't just recklessly tear down things, which is kind of nice coming from a place where they will tear down a McDonald's if it's 5 years old.
Yes and no. Japan does just knock down like really iconic buildings just to put up boring ass concrete structures sometimes.
Yeah.
And also the buildings are built to wobble, right? Because of earthquakes. So they're generally replaced a lot more. Well, I don't know about America, but I come from a city where we have a like 600-year-old street that people still live in. So
yeah, we have the only thing we have are 600 years old. We stole all of those things.
Also with houses, it's kind of rare for a family to move into a house where someone else has lived. It's much more likely you will tear down the old house and build a new house because you don't want I don't want to say spirit, but for the essence of the previous occupants, if you live in that house.
To the point that for the first couple of 100 years of Japanese history, every time the emperor died, they would tear down the capital and build a new one.
Wow.
Wow.
That's okay. It's just a bunch of rice paper, so you just crumple it. And...
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole idea that like everything has a kami, that a god, that mountain has a kami, right? This house has its own sort of kami, which is that family's. So you need to have your own. Like the house I'm sitting in, they built this in the late 90s, so it's not that old a house.
Well, something else I noticed watching this film, to go back to Korea instead of Japan, because they talked about like, oh, maybe it's a bald guy like a Buddhist monk. But then I was like, they talked about, oh, he's a good guy. He goes to church every Sunday. Like Korea's religious profile is very different to Japan's, I think.
It's very different. I think it's very influenced by the West. And it's, do you remember, Luke, that when we were just walking, we're all in a group and we look clearly not Korean, like foreign. And there was a guy in Korean just preaching about Jesus. And then the second he glimpsed at us and noticed that we were in Korean, he just switched to English, like in a second. And he just started like, sweet Jesus, blah, 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 like just trying to get us to give money to. And that has never happened to me in Japan. Like I've never been approached or by someone talking about Jesus. There are people, which I don't understand, when my sister has told me, oh, that they pray to Mount Fuji. And I was like, oh, good for them.
Yeah,
more power
I've
to
been
them.
approached by those guys.
It exists.
And I have had a lady try and get me to get in the bus and join her cult.
But they're not but they're not yelling, right? They're not with a megaphone and just trying to get people to join their church or whatever. But that is a very
we also saw that big ass anti-abortion parade with like some priests and nuns in there.
We did.
Yo,
do they have like grotesque signs of fetuses and stuff like that?
They didn't have as many as you would expect a march of that nature would have in America or in Mexico, for example. People would be just with very graphic pictures of fetuses and babies and whatnot. In this march, there were, I think I saw 2 or 3. Like it wasn't, there weren't a lot, but a lot of text, just like life is life and whatever.
Yeah,
but also like a bunch of like monks walking along in their hoods, looking very ominous. So,
well,
it is a very Christian society.
I always Matt, you'll remember when you lived in the States that where you grew up had a lot of Korean churches, which was sort of how I found that out.
Kind of in Koreatown, and when I was teaching when one of my stints back from Japan, most of my students were either Vietnamese or Korean, and the Korean ones were usually like Baptist, like not even just Christians, but just like hardcore, or their families were. I guess the students probably, how much is a 12-year-old actually part of a religion? But
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, Wikipedia, at least as of 2015, which the number might have even gone down since then, says 27.6% Christianity, 15% Buddhism, 56% no religion. So that's less than I thought. For some reason, I'd been told that it was 50-50 Christianity.
probably
that's the
religious
result.
people.
Yeah, you tend to get that result everywhere. It's like actually like more than 50% of people just are not religious these days.
Mm-hmm. But
maybe they're people are Christian on Christmas,
I mean, we said it in
but that's what I grew up with is the comfortable. It's like my family has actually kind of gotten more religious or more loud about it over time. Like we were kind of a more 50s sitcom kind of family growing up, where it's just you go to church and that's cool.
Like
but
at least here, religions. I mean, nobody's particularly religious in Japan except for, uh, a monk or something. Here, I'll give you religion in Japan. We went to a shrine Sunday morning because my daughter wanted to pray at the shrine, so we would get tickets from the lottery for next year's JoJo musical.
hell yeah.
By the way,
I
we're going to the
endorse this.
JoJo musical.
Have you got the lottery tickets yet?
We got the tickets.
Oh damn!
So I hope that Roundabout is represented in this.
I've decided to teach myself nothing about it before I see the 3.5 hour musical, and just that's going to be my introduction to JoJo.
Is it JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
That's
because me and Mercy are also on the waiting list for those tickets.
Oh wow!
My wife did do 2 spots, and if we got both spots, we were going to offer them to you, but we didn't get the other one. Sorry, we did think about it.
Man, I wish I could afford to fly to Japan to see it. I wouldn't know anything what was going on, but anyway.
Right, that's half the fun. Something when I was just before we got on, reading a little bit about the movie, where the filmmaker, who's somebody say it, because I'm too dumb to say his name properly.
Bong Joon-ho?
Oh,
thank
sorry.
you.
Sorry.
He said, his aesthetic for this film basically was he wanted to mix beautiful landscapes with grotesque corpses. That was the aesthetic he was looking for, which I guess is pretty much exactly where this lands.
That's pretty accurate to the aesthetic of the film. Yeah,
that's a lot like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance too.
Yeah, I also found it interesting that they filmed it in a different rural area than where the murders actually happened, basically because a lot of the victims' families were still alive, and they were like, that would be really horrible and exploitative if we just film it in the correct place. So it's basically filmed in a completely different spot.
I kind of love that. Like, it's not.
I think I prefer fictionalizing something like this than because even if you do it real, it's still basically fiction.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a documentary. You don't need to go to the actual places. If his intent was to show just show the beauty of Korean scenery, and then just a very graphic and very horrible story, you could have done that. I mean, he did that, and you could do it in any other place. Like, you don't need to go to, what was the name of the place? Gyeonggi something? Let me just Google it. 1986 murders. Yeah, Hwaseong. You didn't need to go to that specific place to capture the beauty of Korean scenery.
Yeah, I've recently I've just been like staring at Google Earth more for whatever reason, and mostly looking for weird islands, because that's kind of fascinating. But I was like kind of looking around at Korea just because I'm like, gee, I don't know much about the geography of Korea. I know Seoul's up at the top and Busan's down kind of at the bottom, and that's about all I know. So it's kind of, in our digital age, you can kind of fly down in these areas. So yesterday I was kind of like trying to figure out, like, without doing the proper research, what area we would be looking at in this movie. Because I mean, Luke and I in Japan, we live in a part that isn't obvious. People, when they think of Japan abroad, probably are not thinking about Nagano vibes too much.
Well, sometimes I see something.
Nagano at the wrong point on the map when I'm drawing it because it feels more north than it is.
Sometimes I see something really cool in Japan and I think about recommending you guys that you should go to it, and then I look at a map and it's like 100 miles from where you are, and then I just
Yeah,
don't
you want us
bother.
to see something in
You should
Kyushu, I
still
think.
recommend it because I'll add it to the list.
Cool. Yeah, well, that was really special. The thing where it's just a random sign that makes a combination of nonsense words. Like it was like piss, kill, die. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what it was.
You can put words together on your own if you want. It'd be a new hobby.
Yeah, but I
for
want
yourself.
a gigantic neon mechanism to do it, though.
Well, you got to put some work into it. Come on.
Art. I guess
I was just
could make that.
curious. So the only actor in this film I knew, obviously, was Song Kang-ho. And I'm trying to figure out where he was born, if that was in a more rural province. Because he was obviously cast here as the country bumpkin, and he was born right in the very south of South Korea.
Yeah, he was born. I literally just Googled him, and he was born in Gimhae, which I think it's very close to Busan. Yeah.
Okay.
So in the south, I had some students from that city, from Gimhae, and yeah, from the south, Busan. Yes.
He was great in this because he has just a generally likable vibe. So it really takes you a while to realize that he's like, and then the first time we see him, it's like, oh, I've got the eyes, I can see the criminals, whatever. Takes you a long time to realize that actually he's not a good cop.
Yeah.
He's the guy. He's in a lot of things we've already talked about.
Oh, yeah. He's in pretty much every film we've mentioned so far.
And he's in Parasite. I mean, it's yeah, I don't know how big he is amongst Korean actors, but I don't know.
Yeah,
he's pretty big.
I think when we do see a cop movie or something, we typically do assume we're watching relatively competent cops, unless they're made to look obviously corrupt. Where this is kind of a slow burn. Like, oh, even the guy from Soul kind of sucks. Like these guys are not good at, and that actually makes me think a little bit of another David Fincher film where when you really think about Seven, Brad Pitt's like the worst detective ever.
Yeah, you're not supposed to shoot the guy at the end.
Oh, and the other worst detective ever. More. Yes, exactly. The Pattinson Batman and the Batman. He's also the worst detective ever, by the way. Having just watched that again. He never figures it out, and then the city gets destroyed.
But he figures out what it means to be Batman, and that's all that matters.
Well, he let the Riddler screw him over 5 times a Sunday.
That's what it means to be Batman.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't explain that movie, and I don't know if I liked it. Anyway,
we can't have another podcast where we just talk about the Batman for the whole podcast.
Just for the modern version of an American crime drama, that's Memories of a Murder in 2022, basically.
I love Jeffrey Wright. I'm glad
Memories of Murder.
Give Jeffrey Wright a job. That's cool. That movie's great because give Jeffrey Wright more work, please.
Yeah,
everybody.
Well,
and then the other actor playing Detective Sir, is that how you pronounce it? That's how it was written in the subtitles.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So there was a little bit of an issue. Sorry, there was a little bit of an issue with nobody called each other by their names ever in this film.
Well,
you just got to remember faces.
Bastard and Fucker were the main characters.
Yeah, or Soul Detective, or
Yeah,
other words I'm not going to repeat.
You don't usually call each other. Well, I actually noticed. It's a very specific scene where there are 2 guys and then the woman, the cop who's dressed in red, and there were 2 young kids running, and she was like, come in here because it's pouring, whatever. One of the kids in Korean calls the lady cop sister, older sister, which is a very kind of in Japanese, like one-chan or ni-chan, someone. And then the guy just automatically corrects her and says to her, hey, don't call her that, even though she's a woman and she might be older than you. She's service detective, blah blah, and just the last name. So it's a very hierarchy kind of language where you have to call someone by, it's not So the detective Seoul, it's the detective from Seoul or detective general or whatever. So, and Seki, which is just bastard. And that's it. Yeah.
But I found it interesting. He was introduced a little later into the film. So I thought he was going to be more of an antagonist role. Because, yeah, at the start of the film, because I didn't know it was based on a true story or anything, I was expecting them to catch the killer, right? So I was thinking, like, oh, okay, so is it this country cop's going to show the big city guy that they, like he's telling him at one point, we have folk knowledge. And then as we realize what shits the country cops are, I'm like, okay, so no, it's going to be the other way around, and the city guy is going to show them how to be modern. And then, yeah, eventually it turns out, no, they're just all terrible.
They're just terrible. And yeah,
they've got university group sex classes in Seoul. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
When I'm looking at
most unhinged.
No, and I'm sitting here like, I wasn't thinking about this movie being funny, but then I'm looking at my notes, and like you said, in the first half, we got the nicey shoes. That was pretty good.
And then there's a callback because you see them roll out from under the train at the end.
Yep.
Hey, if they work, they could be better than Nike. We don't know.
Chekhov's Niceys.
Yeah.
That's not proper use of that, but anyway. Go on, Matt. Sorry.
Oh, those were the main ones. I guess that there was one other one that did get my attention, but I just liked I got shaman eyes, but we already mentioned that. So I want to tell people. Yes. The other one that was folk wisdom to live in a country the size of your dick. That sounds like a good rule of dick.
Yeah.
Can't call it a rule of thumb in that case, can you? Okay, now that I'm trying to do stand up from my notes based on a movie I watched last night, shall we get to our? Do you have other big observations?
The only other big observation I have is, and I don't know how deliberate this is, for a film about women being murdered, the only two there's three basically women's roles in the film. There's like his girlfriend / nurse / drug dealer.
Yeah.
There's the female detective who no one takes seriously, and there's an escaped victim.
Yeah, no, it's not. It doesn't pass the Bechdel test, in my opinion, and yeah.
But I suppose it's about men failing to do these things. So I could see that as a deliberate, like, oh, they don't actually get the opinion of a woman, which might be useful in this situation.
That's
interesting.
That's East Asian bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It sort of falls under the category of I just forgive it for not being super forward thinking, but it's 2003. I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works.
But I mean,
the film is
talking about the film itself. Yeah, I got you. But no, both Koreas and Japan all rate pretty low on women's rights when you stack all the countries against each other. Like now.
Yeah. Well, things may have changed by now, but I haven't seen a whole lot of Korean films from the past 5 years, to be honest, which I should change.
I mean, Japan, I'm bringing it Japan because I live here, so I know that better. But when Kishida introduced his new cabinet, he's like, out of my 18-person cabinet, I now have 3 women. Look how progressive I am.
Well, South Korea did have a woman president much earlier than the US did, but she is in jail for corruption. However, I mean, if a president of a country can go to jail for corruption for 20 years, that's pretty great, man.
Why don't we do that in America?
Really?
Yeah, well, one would argue that because she was, I think, the first female president of South Korea, she was more likely. I mean, okay, so she's the daughter of a dictator. So let's start there. Let's just that's the baseline. And people,
feminist
I think, elected
icon.
her. Yeah, exactly, a feminist icon. And then turns out she was she girl bossed a little bit too close to the sun. And she was I guess in like a cult or something. So she shared some things that she shouldn't have with the daughter of the leader of the cult, and I
Oh, was
think
she a
that's
Mooney?
Wow.
I think so. And there's
Okay.
also the I forgot, but the tragedy of the ferry that happened in early 2010s, which is a horrible thing where a ferry from Busan to Seoul crashed, and it was filled, well, not filled, but there was like a class of high schoolers or middle schoolers, and they all died because they were told to listen to the captain, and the captain flee the ferry. So they all died, like a bunch of kids. And a lot of people were like, oh, this president, she didn't do things fast enough. Like she didn't act fast enough because allegedly she was getting like a haircut or something. So there's a bunch of, she a girl boss. What do you want me to tell you? And so yeah, even though she was the first president of Korea, well, that not yeah, she's a woman, but that doesn't mean she might be a good president. So
Well, George W. had to
Well,
finish his
I'm-
children's book before responding to 9/11.
And we'll make fun of him for 100 years after he dies for that.
yeah.
Also, I'm looking at her Wikipedia picture, and she has this look on her face like she is so disgusted by everything. Which
Well,
is
at this
kind
point,
of
I
fun.
suppose she is.
No, I mean this is an official
know what you mean.
portrait from when she was sworn in. It's not the mug shot. But anyway,
We get good presidential mugshots in America now.
you have to. You have to marketing is a required skill, which is why I'm going to be a failure forever. Check out my website that I haven't updated any of them.
So let's put this one out. How much of it's filmy? How much of it's filthy? I mean,
It's actually, considering the subject matter, not that much filth. They don't really show the gruesome details.
well, they
they
show a
mostly
few
just talk
gruesome
about them.
details, but they don't
Yeah.
dwell on
Not
them.
that much, really. Yeah, they tend
I-
to show people reacting or things just off camera.
That's kind of more disturbing a lot of the time, though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. Just like the was it the when with the stewards telling us about the Evil Dead, where the British edit kind of makes it more disturbing.
Or the balloon in M.
Right,
This is
right.
kind of like M, right? It has little shades of that.
We're following the police and not. Well, I guess we don't get into Pierre.
No, we don't follow
anyway. So we don't get the figure really in this, which is a big difference. But otherwise, yeah, a little bit about trying to wrangle the community and being ineffectual in your own right, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and the slice of life stuff. You're watching a city that you can't live in because it doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. That's the charm of a period piece. I just explained period pieces. You're watching sort of the clockwork of people going about their business and how they react as a society to all this stuff.
But yeah, of course, the film watch. I mean, coming up. Well, I don't know if it's a film or a filth, but people seem to like Parasite. So I'm assuming I'm going to like Parasite, and I'll be much happier seeing the movie, knowing that I've seen a few of his earlier movies like this.
Parasite's a much different movie, but it has the same dark sense of humor and
Yeah, there's definitely a filmmaker voice here, and I guess I don't know. I guess having a voice isn't always make it film. Like I wouldn't.
No,
John Waters 70s films are great. They have a voice, but they're absolute filth.
Well, great filth. I mean, that's the point of a John Waters film. But yeah, you could see from Bong Joon-ho that I guess he was from his first movie and then Memories and Mother and Okja and Snowpiercer. He was shaping his voice. Like, this is clearly a person who's making a film who has something to say and like an opinion or a point of view. So I don't know. For me, it's a film. It has little filth, but I am very biased because I love Bong Joon-ho. So that's me.
I'm also biased, and I love this because my sense of humor and sensibilities are very dark. So this is total film for me, regardless of what all the terrible things that happened.
Yeah.
Well, again, there were so many funny things that happened in the first half.
I mean, wait till you see all the horrible stuff that happens in Old Boy, and when I call that a film. I mean, there are people that you see a Reddit conversation about Old Boy, and people are like, I couldn't watch any more than 20 minutes of it. A lot of people can't watch that.
I had a meltdown when I watched Old Boy for the first time. I needed 30 minutes to collect myself because
Legit. I just went and gleefully watched it again, knowing the thing that
I mean,
Knowing the thing that happened in the film.
when you know what's gonna happen, you enjoy the movie for what it is, and the whole corridor scene. I mean, it's masterful, but you're kind of create something against the shock of Old Boy. So yeah.
But yeah, I understand. I mean, I can't watch Lars von Trier movies, which a lot of people have no problem watching. I can't.
Yeah, no.
Matt's tried to show me them, and I couldn't.
Well, our friend Scott still hates Bjork just because of Dancer in the Dark. He won't listen to her music because of Dancer in the Dark.
I didn't blame. Well, I never listened to that soundtrack ever again because of that movie.
But maybe some other ones. You can listen to the one where she's like gay cover.
I don't blame Bjork. In fact, I think that she said that she hated it and would never was in a film ever again because of that movie until The Northman, which I still highly recommend to you guys and to everyone listening. Your Conan movie that you really want.
Tell you what I want, what I really, really want.
Yep. Tell you what you want, what you really, really want. Coming soon, Spice World to this podcast. Can't wait for that either.
Is Spice World on our list, Matt?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the guest committed years in advance.
I hope it's one of the Spice Girls.
It's one of the Spice. It's Ice Spice. Actually, that'd be a giant get, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It would.
Don't expect Ice Spice for that. Okay.
It's Colonel Sanders.
There are a disturbing amount of one-star reviews on this movie, which I don't know if that's just people don't like to watch things with subtitles or what, but I guess I'll do one. It just says boring by maybe 50 years ago it would have been a good movie, but today computers and gadgets have taught us something completely different. Even at the speed of X2, which I watched, it was still very boring for a long time and tedious. We have lost the habit of such a prolonged action. Our brain feels like a person who has come out and desserts who are given water drop by drop every 10 minutes. You will inevitably go crazy. I'm very glad that Korean cinema has become much richer and richer over the years. If this is a thriller, then it should keep in suspense. And this film does not hold it all, only raises thoughts when it is over. Two, absolutely do not recommend. Wasted time. I like how it started off mildly coherent and then just turned into a word soup by the end.
Was that
Donald
person
Trump? Was like 15 when they watched this film.
3 of 22 found it helpful.
They put down their TikTok to watch a movie.
Or
they watched it in a series of TikToks. I know that's how some kids watch films now.
God, yeah, you could watch Mean Girls as 153 TikToks earlier this year, I think.
Oh yeah. I have watched movies on TikTok. Just
I haven't taken that trip yet.
You know that you can play the entirety of the movie Shrek in Beat Saber?
Nice.
I haven't tried, but you can.
You could buy the entirety of the movie Shrek as Game Boy cartridges.
Man, that's great.
I guess we're going to wrap it up for today, unless someone wants to throw out a final thunker on this.
No.
I love this movie. This rules, and I'd been wanting to watch it for a while, so thank you, Anna, for bringing this.
And this is, I consider myself a bit of a film dork, but yeah, I get South Korean cinema is a blind spot, so that's one of the things where, again, like, hey, we're kind of forcing ourselves to watch stuff, and some of it you need to force yourself to watch. So, because I would have never gotten around to it, but here we are, so it works out.
Yeah, I need you three to bring me movies, or I will only watch things with dinosaurs in them.
Well, let me just a spoiler for next week. I'm bringing something that you will probably both like.
Does it have a dinosaur in it?
No.
Well,
but that's the thing. I have to force you to watch it because it doesn't have a dinosaur in it.
Robot?
It has blood.
Okay. Robot blood.
You like blood, right?
You all like
I
blood.
like having blood.
Yeah, it's great. It's the powerhouse of the cell. I almost said it was the mitochondria of the cell, and I just jumped all over the place.
Annie, have anything around the internet that people should point themselves towards? I forgot how we panned out on that last time.
Yeah, no, I think I'm starting a podcast with my sister. Still doesn't have a name, but you can look for my sister because she's Mercy Escribe in everywhere. And that's it. A sister living on the other side of the world and a sister living in Mexico. So check it out. I don't know the name of it yet, but it's going to happen. And thank you guys for having me again. I had so much fun. I really enjoyed watching Memories of Murder again.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it to us.
Thanks
We'll
for
probably
coming.
see you again in a few. Well, when does Parasite come up on the list, Matt?
It's a while.
Very far.
It's considered to be a very good film, isn't it?
Yeah, but
It is
often,
very cool.
even if it's good, because it's foreign, it's not high on our list that's rated by idiots on IMDb.
Okay, if y'all vamp, I'll tell you as I search through this pile.
I'm gonna
of paper.
vamp by seeing what this was rated because I think it was weirdly low for something that's considered an incredibly
Yeah.
good film. Generally, this is a 8.1. It's not low at all.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
almost on the
Oh.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys have another, South Korean movie film, I'm always on board. But another Mexican film, because
Well,
you know how Matt said that South Korean was his blind spot. I guess Mexican films are mine because I need to watch more of them. So
yeah, well, like I said, after next week, we'll be back on our actual list of the top 100, bottom 100 from IMDb. So I'll get Matt to send me over the list, and you can just take a look and pick any that you want. But
I
you
haven't.
we're not going to force you to sit in your niche of Mexico and South Korea. You can talk about any film you want.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah,
I do enjoy those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Mexican films are represented on the list, even though I'm sure they should be. But
assuming there's not another strike or something, which I guess there wouldn't be in the next couple of years, since I don't know, who knows. Anyway,
I think the plan is
or
there's
we
going to be a
just-
strike every 3 years going forward.
yeah, or we just
Yeah.
decide to revolt against ourselves.
Anyway, Old Boy, we will be doing in early 2025, and the Prestige. Parasite is in early 2026. On the good list, it is between Back to the Future and Whiplash.
Wow.
Just for a
Nice.
fun fact. Okay.
Yeah. So, and for anybody who doesn't know, the way that our podcast works is that the good list goes up and the bad list goes down. So, as we go along,
number one, yeah, the films
the
get
bad
better and worse at
movies
the
get
same
worse,
time,
and the good movies get better.
Theoretically.
In theory.
Theoretically, I know some of the bad movies towards the end are, I'm morbidly curious about.
Oh,
I'm
Kirk
still
Cameron's-
furious that for some bullshit reason Jurassic Park didn't make our list. Because
It
like
doesn't really
because of
make
like the
sense.
fourth decimal place is like slightly off whatever did make our list. If Matt had taken the screenshot on a different day, it might have been in there.
That's actually probably true.
Well, I mean, you know what? Remember what I said, that I think that on Matt's birthday every year we should just go over what the list would be in an alternate timeline, just for fun.
But next year for my birthday, we pick a film off the list on our birthdays. I want to do that North Korean monster movie that was made by kidnapping Japanese directors.
I don't know
I
anything
have
about that,
seen
but that
that.
sounds hilarious.
I haven't
I
seen it,
haven't-
but I want to.
No, I haven't seen the movie, but I heard the
Yeah.
lore of it all. But yeah, wow, interesting, nice. Well,
Whoa, I'm
forth.
looking at a picture of the monster, and it just looks like a giant Godzilla minotaur with claws. It
Okay.
looks
Sick.
cool.
You just sold Luke Carter.
Produced by Kim Jong-il. How about that?
Oh, he was a film fan. Okay,
All
I
right.
guess
Already
Anna,
can play a
sign us
perfect
out. Say
random.
goodbye in Korean.
for the viewers or for you guys? I
Everybody.
guess it's the same.
Everybody.
Yeah, I guess just 안녕히 가세요. 감사합니다. Bye and thank you. And say 좋은 주 보내세요. Have a good week. That's it.
okay. I was just leaving time to spot because it makes editing so much easier. Everyone, everyone's adapting my shut up for 5 seconds method of editing.
Mercy's, oh, you can't see it because it got blur. She's freaking the fuck out because I just told her that you've got the JoJo tickets.
Oh, hell yeah.
We did have a second spot, but we didn't get it. Sorry.
Mhm.
Because we
It'll
weren't.
work out.
Yeah. I don't know how that worked anyway. I did nothing for this, by the way. This was all happening in the background as I was just doing my thing because that's my daughter and her mom on that.
Well, I didn't win the lottery for the Taylor Swift tickets next year.
Okay. I think
Mm.
I
Because
did.
Tokyo's like the
barely
only one
tried.
in this entire hemisphere. It was very popular.
I tried, but I gave up so quickly when I found out the system was all messed up, and I'm just like, well,
The system is dead. That's
system
right.
is down.
Yeah. That's a
I mean,
some kind
I
of
bet
thing.
you'd probably have a more fair system in Japan. Maybe I have no idea how
It's a
your
fair system. It's just so many fucking people signed up
yeah.
because there's not
Because
that many locations in Asia.
like ours, Ticketmaster literally just owns all the venues and then sends bots to buy their own tickets so they can resell them to you. It's just like insane how like Pearl Jam went up against them like 40 years ago and nothing happened.
Well, if the system wasn't good, the free market would replace it.
You're right. You're right. I should just accept that everything's
Sure.
completely fair. And